Next up, we're going to have a little of the flavor of Europe in this next one with these bright red festive mailboxes from London. And we've got a bicycle. And we've got a stack of presents. Here's a bicycle in front of the wrought iron fence. And I love this piece of cardstock here. I love all these travel. This looks like travel stamps down the side, but they all say Merry Christmas in them. And we've got the bright red mailbox over here. Now, I do have to say that I found this piece right here a little bit challenging because there just wasn't much to it. There's a bright red mailbox sitting there with nothing surrounding it. And I looked and looked at that, and normally I would make, if I have a corner image, I would make a card all on its own from that corner, but I just didn't like the way it looked if I was using this by itself. So I did something kind of different here. I took my mailbox, I cut it out. This is the corner of my cardstock that had the bicycle. I took that piece of my mailbox and I rounded it around a pencil, just kind of shaped it with my fingers to create a texture to that mailbox. And I put it on with the bicycle, and I think it looks great there. It looks like it belongs there, but I just fussy cut around it, and even fussy cutting, I didn't cut real. I mean, I didn't spend all day cutting it out. I just kind of rough cut it out, but I think it looks terrific. And then I added that greeting across the top. What are you wishing for Christmas? And there's the matching. But you can even see from the insert sheet, that's really plain looking, but it sure wasn't plain looking when we were done after I texturized that mailbox and added it to that card. I think that looks great. Well, that's the first one. The next one. This one, I just took the bicycle and parked it in front of the fence. I added a blue single bow, tied at 4, and I cut out of my scrap paper, I cut out one of those travel Merry Christmases and put it up here because I didn't have any more round toppers, and I think that turned out great. I like the way it looks. That was a European A6. Both of those two were done on European A6. This one's on a 5x7. I've taken my 5x7, I've covered it with silver mirror board. I took my 3-piece frame set, I broke it into 3 pieces. I put my first outside square just down square on my card. I took the ring from the inside, turned it on an angle and put it down. And then I put my topper on top with some foam squares. And then down here, I added a gift for you, a small tag. I just like that little bird. I wanted him to show, so I used a short tag there. And inside, because this was a gift for you, I hadn't found a purpose for this stack of presents, but it just seemed appropriate to put it inside the gift for you card, along with the insert with the bicycle. But I like the way that one turned out too. That's number 3. And number 4, now this mailbox is all alone too, but at least it has the fence behind it for character, and it has the little bird on top. Just to add even more character, I mounted this one on top of that travel paper. And I think the contrast of having the travel paper and then the darker look on this side really makes that mailbox not look lonesome here. So this says, lots of love from across the miles, which seems particularly appropriate with the mailbox. And there were a total of 4 cards from that set. Next up, we're going to take a look at one of my favorites from this set. Of course, I have several favorites from every set. This one's going to be a card kit, so you will see a video made from this one. Here is a beautiful representation of Santa with a reindeer. I just love the way this one looks. I love the bright reds and the blues together with the brown of the reindeer. I just think this is just a remarkably well done topper set. It's so pretty. We've got that one. And we've got, I love the backgrounds they've done this year. I think they've really outdone themselves with the background papers this year. I love the background and the textures in the paper. And here's all the gifts. Let's see what we've done with this. Yes, what would snow scenes be without some shaker cards? So once again, I've created a shaker with my chunky glitter. I've covered my cardstock in red Adorable Scoreable out of my Adorable Scoreable set from the collection, the Christmas collection. I've used some of that beautiful cloudy sky to really set off this Santa and the reindeer. And again, the outer frame becomes the frame for my shaker, and the two insides are glued down flat. I did not add stickles or anything to this inside image because I want my glitter to roam freely in there and not hang up on stuff inside the card. But it's so pretty, especially with the matching insert in it. Isn't it beautiful? I'd be proud to give that to anybody. Next up, I used a piece of this paper. Now, you don't necessarily notice at first that those are sleigh bells across the top, but it seemed particularly appropriate to mount the reindeer on the cardstock with the sleigh bells. So I've used the sleigh bells as if this is a border from which my elements are hanging, and I've got my beautiful reindeer up on some foam squares. I've got a double bow tied at 4, and I've got my little tag that says "Have a Merry Christmas." The card, before adding my elements, the card was covered in silver mirror board. Love those colors together. Isn't that bright and pretty and cheery? Next up, we have Santa and the reindeer, and this time we are using the tag that has the presents. Similar treatment all the way around. This has been done on silver mirror board. I've covered the card in silver mirror. It's a European A6 card. I've added my Santa, my reindeer, and my tag all on foam squares, and that bright red double-sided satin ribbon out of your Ultimate Kit, and an insert with the presents. Next up, we have the corner treatment of Santa with the reindeer. On this one, I chose to use stickles on the roof tiles, between the roof tiles, and I like the texture that created. And then it still needed to sparkle a little bit, so I added stickles to some of the the larger snowflakes coming down. I put that all on a 5x5 card that's been covered with red Adorable Scoreable from the collection, and this says "With love from Santa." That's card number 4, and card number 5 is an easel card. I've used the easel, and when I created the easel, I used this is a 6-inch card. The first 3 inches at the bottom of my easel are done using the presents from the bottom of the cardstock, and the top 3 inches are done using the sleigh bells and the ribbon from the top of the cardstock. and then they come together in that beautiful blue on the inside, so that works. Now I did notice that the white, even though I had them butted up really closely together, the white was bugging me how much it was showing between the two pieces because it's so dark on both sides of it. So I took my black Sharpie and I filled in the space between them, and you don't notice the Sharpie at all until I tell you that. But it really helped me overcome that being bugged by the white. Your your card will, the further back you put the stopper for your card, which is made by just creating, just using a piece of your shaker tape and whatever you want for a border. I will tell you this border right here comes off the scrap edge of the topper sheet. I used one of the scraps and cut it down to a half an inch and then used that to create my stopper. And then I used that pretty insert sheet before I put down my stopper. Now, usually I only tape my cards on my inserts on one edge. Of course, on this one, I taped it on 3 edges because it becomes the base of my card. And I didn't want that bottom piece to be loose. And I added a little topper inside that says Christmas is coming. But I think that turned out really cute. 5 cards from that set. Next up, we're going to look at Christmas Sparkle, which will be another of our card classes. We have 4 cards from this set. We have 4 toppers on this sheet. We have a split scene on this sheet. And we have these beautiful foiled snowflake corners on this sheet. Let's see what we did here. Let me show you the biggest card first because I actually used an extra topper on this one. You may be wondering, how come I have 4 cards if I showed you 5 toppers? This is what I did. I took the borders, the thin borders from here. I used a 6x6 card blank, and I brought, here's one side of my card, and here's the other side of my card. And then I used one of my small toppers off of my sheet as a closure for my card. So this actually tucks right into this larger ring. Now you don't see me do this very often because it's not very often that they create a ring that's heavy enough to pull this off. But this becomes a beautiful closure for the card. And I felt like this ring was heavy enough to carry this off. So I love this card. This may be one of my favorite cards of the season so far because I love the way that looks when you open that up to that matching topper sheet or insert sheet inside. And I really think that card is really cute. And of course, it has lots of sparkles. And a season's greetings at the top. But I think this turned out wonderfully. It's one of my favorites of the season. Here's a little card done using light blue crepe ribbon out of the Ultimate set. I have broken this little topper into 3 pieces and put the outside ring and the inside image on foam squares with the center glued down flush. I have put foam squares under here and just used one of those corners. My European A6 card is covered in silver mirror board before I did that. And I added some stickles to the tree and the snow. This one is using, it actually looks like it's almost plain cardstock, but it's not. It actually comes from this piece in the center. And I've taken my European A6. I've covered it in silver mirror board, used that beautiful dark blue from the center of that cardstock. I've broken my frame in 3 pieces. Excuse me, the outer section and the inner section are on foam. The center is glued down flush. We have a 3-4-3 ivory colored bow from our um, ribbon pack in the ultimate kit, and this little Christmas tree tag there. And our final card is not a shaker card, but it sure could have been easily. You can see that. This time I've taken my final, one of my corners. I've mounted that piece of cardstock onto a European A6 covered with silver mirror board. I have a 3-4-3 in that ivory double-sided satin ribbon again. And I've added the tag this time that says "Have a Magical Christmas." This was a 2-part frame, so I put my outer frame up on some foam squares, and I put my inner frame recessed just for something a little bit different. And it actually kind of looks like you're looking out a window, which is kind of a neat effect. And I love the sparkle of the trees and the pond there. I think that turned out really cute. Okay, we have 2 sets left, and it seems like a lot of sets. It's because it is. Each of our Craftiganza kits has 10 topper sheets. So this is topper set number 9. This is the Winter Owls. That's actually called Midnight Owl. And we've got 2 large toppers with several small ones there. Lots of little owl pictures. And we've got 2 nice borders. Love this one. It's just so dramatic looking, the owl in front of the moon with the branches and berries next to him, and then the berries across the bottom. I think that's really pretty, or the flowers, I guess. And this has owl feathers and these 2 beautiful foiled strips. And when I see strips like that, I see center step cards. So one of my 4 cards from this set is a center step. I see those borders and immediately I think of these side pieces coming up. So I've created my center step on a hot off the press. This is one of the hot off the press cards. Hot off the press center step card. I have taken a green piece of cardstock that was approximately, you'll have to measure, but it was approximately, I believe, like 4 1/4 by 4 1/4 piece of green cardstock. And I've covered this back panel. Then I took one of those borders. I took this part of the border and I made it 1 inch wide so that it could cover across the bottom here. I took the other border off the other side and I brought it up. This cardstock is 8 1/4 inches wide, and each of these towers on the 2 sides is 4 inches long. So you can easily get this border across here that's 7 inches, and both of these that are 4 inches each from that one sheet of cardstock. And then I built my topper up. I have foam squares under the outer piece, foam squares under the inner piece, the center section glued down flat, and I have put that together. Nope, actually I just did that directly onto the card face. And my little tag here says, "Peace, love, and joy." I've added a little bit of stickles, just a little bit, in the snow falling and in the branch right behind the owl. Just a little bit. Here is another easel card. This time I've built my pieces for this topper up on a piece of white cardstock. And I've broken my frame in 3 pieces. I've got the outer and inner on foam squares and the ring glued down flat. And then I just cut around the whole thing to create my topper. I've taken my background for that right off the bottom here, over here really. I'm taking my, this is a 5 by 5, I believe. Let me look. This is a 5. This is a 5 1/4 by 5 1/4. I don't. Yeah, our kits will include a 5 by 5 1/4 by 5 1/4 card. I got confused there for a second. Yeah, Brittany told me she rustled around and found enough 5 1/4s to put them in the kits. And down here we have From Me to You. On the inside we have the matching topper, and I used one of the small images inside, and I just think that's as pretty as it can be. Okay, we have 2 more. This one I've taken that, I love the way these colors play together. It's a very dark blue background, almost black background behind that owl, and I've actually matted that in white cardstock, and then I mounted that on that steely blue, and I love the way these colors look together. And the stickles, when I put the stickles on this really dark blue, it gives me kind of a blue that casts almost like the steely blue, which was kind of a neat surprise, really. And this one says, wishing you a beautiful Christmas. I think it's a really striking card, though. Really pretty. And then these little toppers gave me a bit of a challenge. So this is what I did with them. I used my remaining piece of berry cardstock from down here. And I had 4 little toppers left. I had the owl face, the owl body, and the owl full one here. And what I did is I took my European A6, I covered it in red mirror board. I marked the center of my topper, and I ran one of my frames from the center to the corner and from the center to this corner. And then I mounted my owl pictures on top of that little pyramid, and I like the way it turned out. One last set. We'll be finished with the Winter Wonderland 2021. This last set is called My Dear, and you guys know I would like this one because it's deer. And we have deer in the forest. We have 3 toppers of deer standing in front of trees with some small toppers to match. We have deer in the beautiful kind of almost lavender blue forest of birch trees. And we have this pretty, pretty snowfall foiled cardstock. We have 4 cards from this set. One last shaker. This, now I did trade it out here. This, I wanted this face and this frame. So I swapped. I poked this one out and I pushed this one out, and I used this one for my shaker card. Why? I don't know. Because I wanted this one. I wanted the one that had the several silver snowflakes on it. So I covered my card in rainbow mirror, and that was not an accident. I knew I was going to use these bright holographic stars, and I thought they would just be beautiful with the outer mirror. And I think that one really feeds the other, and it's beautiful. And I cut down my cardstock to let my outer border show. I built my shaker. I put in that holographic cardstock, and I put "With Love" in this little topper here. And I just think it's really pretty. And then I used one if I had this little tag left over. So I put it in the forest on my pretty card. This one, I just took a European A6 silver mirror board. I put my topper butted up against this border coming down. I added my "To a Perfect Couple" and the stag and the doe on there. The only place I have stickles on this, because I really didn't have enough forest to show the stickles, the only place that the stickles is present is in the center of these snowflakes where they're falling down. And if you were closer, if you were looking at this directly, you'd be able to see that. And then on this border coming down, it has little swirlies, and I put stickles in the tight coil of those little swirlies coming down to just add one more element to my card. Here's the corner cardstock. This time I did have a little bit that I could put stickles on. So I've taken my European A6, covered it in silver mirror board, used the corner of my cardstock. I've put light lines of stickles over the grass at the bottom. It's light lines, but there's a lot of them, so it really glimmers there. I brought my stickles up one side of my tree and one side of my tree here, and then I stickled a little bit on the branches just to give that a nice, pretty look of snow and ice. And this one says "Season's Greetings." And finally, here's my largest hopper using the other corner. And this time I have a little bit more stickles up in the trees because the trees are a little bit more visible. So I have more stickles up in the trees and around their feet. I put this on rainbow mirror on a 5x7 card, used my little snowflake punch out here, and my toppers up on some foam squares. So every one of our 10 topper sets made at least 4 cards. Our snowman made 6, and we got 5 from one of the others. So I'm going to say that this kit made 43 cards in total. Hunkydory says you'll get 20. 43 is not bad. I hope you enjoyed looking at our cards today, and I hope you have a lot of fun working on your own Craftaganza kit. If you have questions or concerns, give me a call or contact me at info@SimplySpecialCrafts.com. And if you have a question about how I did something, let's talk about it. I'll try and refer you to a video or talk you through it. I'm Debbie from Simply Special Crafts, and we'll see you next time.